Well, ladies and gents, another year down and another Oscars come and gone. I'm here to talk about the 2019, well, technically the Oscars were in 2020, but they're for all the movies that took place in 2019, and I'm going to talk about some of the winners here. I'm not going to do every single one, mainly because this Oscars this year was very predictable. Like, a lot of people that I knew were going to win, like Laura Dern for Best Supporting Actress. She was far greater than anyone else, at least in my opinion. And Brad Pitt for Best Supporting Actor, I think he killed it. I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. A lot of the sound editing with Ford versus Ferrari, like a lot of the people that won, I knew were going to win. I actually placed a lot of bets on this, and a lot of my predictions came true. But I want to talk about some of the more bigger wins here. And really, I want to talk about the race between 1917 and Parasite. Now, obviously, a lot of people predicted Parasite was going to win Best Foreign Film, which it did. A lot of people were under the assumption that it could win Best Director, maybe Best Picture. A lot of people also assumed that it would win Best Original Screenplay and everything. And lo and behold, it did. But not only did it win just a couple of them, it pretty much swept the Oscars. It won all of them. It won Best Original Screenplay, Best Directing, and it won Best Picture. Now, don't get me wrong. I saw this movie, and I loved it. It was in my top 10. I praised this movie to the heavens. There was nothing wrong with it. I mean, nothing that I could sit here and argue like it didn't deserve to at least be nominated, but at least in my opinion, I think that it was a great disservice to Sam Mendes for giving the Best Director award to Parasite. Now, I could see why it would be nominated for Best Picture, but Best Director, Listen, all film is subjective. All these awards are subjective, and all the, people that review and vote on these films, everything is subjective, obviously. There's no true guideline to what you can and can't do in terms of how you're going into the voting booth and deciding what's your favorite film for this specific Oscar category. But to me, I have certain standards that I believe should fall into when you're voting for a specific category, what are you really voting for? Now, Best Picture to me is the best overall. You got the best ensemble cast. You got a really great story, whether it's from an adapted screenplay or an original screenplay. You got a good score. You didn't use an overabundance of shaky cam. Like, you did pretty good directing and everything. Like, it's just like the whole package deal. It's like the favorite movie, the favorite story, the most moving experience. To me, that's what the Best Picture should be. Like the movie that you got the most out of. Now, the category for Best Director, I believe, falls a little bit differently. A lot of the times I watch the Oscars, I feel like the Best Director award goes to the man that made the best movie, but not necessarily was the best at directing. And what I mean by that is I'm impressed with innovative ways of filmmaking. I like when people come in and do things we haven't seen before, like Christopher Nolan with Memento, or I'm drawing a blank on the guy that did The Revenant, Alejandro, God, I don't even know if that's the right person. Regardless, the guy that did The Revenant, he also did Birdman and made those movies try to look like they were all these big, wide, long shots. Birdman specifically was made to look like one shot, but The Revenant not so much, but they did have really long takes where it went for 10 minutes at a time without cutting, and these big, beautiful, natural lighting films. Or like Guy Ritchie when he was making Man from U.N.C.L.E., and he does the scene where Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer are raiding that castle at the end, but it has 4 different things going on at once, and they're the screens are moving back and forth as we're watching Armie Hammer up here doing something and Henry Cavill down here doing something, and it's crisscross, almost like you're watching an actual comic book unfold before your eyes. And I really like when they do these innovative, creative things. Now, I understand that an argument can be made that belongs in the cinematography category, the way a movie is filmed. And you're absolutely right. And 1917 did win cinematography because the movie was filmed beautifully. But I still just think that the way he filmed this movie, an entire 2-hour-long movie, and it wasn't just a guy walking through a Broadway stage like in Birdman, the set designs were unbelievable. And the way that he seamlessly tethered every single clip together to make it look like it was all one long shot in a battle-torn war zone with these 2 kids struggling to get from point A to point B to deliver a message, getting shot at, getting chased down. It was unbelievable, and it was inventive, and I've never seen in my life a movie this epic filmed this way before. It was the first time I've ever seen anything like this. I don't know if any other movies out there have been done like this, but I haven't heard of them. If you have, please leave it down in the comments below, because I'm really into this kind of filmmaking. The sets were unbelievable. Like I said in my top 10 video review, the scene where like the kid in 1917 is running through the broken down city at night, and the flares are going up in the sky, and it's like casting shadows on the rubble of the buildings as he's running down the streets. I've just never seen anything like it, and I was so blown away. And directing isn't only just, camera placement. It's also bringing a vision to life, which is his original vision. He's thinking of all this in his head and then trying to hire people that could help him bring this to life. But it's also getting the most out of your actors. And I think everyone in Parasite did fantastic. I really do. I think they were all great. But I think that Parasite, what it did so well was it blended multiple genres. Like the beginning of the movie was kind of like a family comedy. Then it became a little bit of a drama. Then it became a mystery. Then it became a horror. And he merged those four genres like so well together, because normally if you do that in any other movie, people would say it doesn't work right. It doesn't feel seamless. It's clashing genres. But he did it so well. But I think in terms of like on the emotional level, you really didn't get that emotional impact from a lot of them until the very end of the film. Whereas in the entire 2 hours of 1917 was emotional. Like, not even just the acting, but like the scenery was emotional. And going back to acting, the two kids, they were fantastic. And he had a lot of A-list actors in this movie secretly, like that you wouldn't know unless you wanted to see it, that get like 2, maybe 3 minutes of screen time. And in the 2 and 3 minutes of screen time, they really blew me away. I don't want to spoil anything, but you eventually meet one of the kid's brothers at the end of the movie. And he's, not like A-list, but like you've known him if you've seen The Biggest Show on HBO recently. And like, he was only on screen for 2 minutes, but I was super impressed by him. But I think in terms of what Sam Mendes did to get the emotions out of these two lead characters in this movie, all the supporting characters that were in it for even less than a minute, the choreography, the cinematography, the overall camera placements and direction itself, bringing this vision to life, I truly believe that what he did was very inventive and creative, and he should have won that Oscar award, because let's face it, the Oscars are about acknowledging the achievements of filmmakers. And although Parasite was a great movie, it didn't do anything for me in terms of just directing that was special. The story was special, and yes, in order to make a great Oscar-worthy movie, the director has to get great performances out of his actors, like I said, and his actresses, and he has to bring this vision to life in a way that resonates with the audience and looks good, and that's true. But it wasn't new and inventive, and that's the thing. I agree Parasite deserves Best Picture for what Bong Joon-ho did with Parasite. But I think in terms of directing, that there was another director, Sam Mendes, that was way more inventive and creative with the way he approached his movie. And it's really a shame that he didn't get acknowledged for that, because a lot of filmmakers don't like to take risks, because when they're not acknowledged like this, what's the point? Why are you going to go out of your way to try and pitch to a studio, I want to film a movie like this? It's never been done before, so right there the studio is going to be kind of hesitant, because it's like, well, is the audience going to take to this? Are they going to want to see something like this? It's already a risk. And then you go out your way and do something like this, and it's not acknowledged. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying 1917 wasn't acknowledged. It absolutely was. It made it into the Oscars, and it made a ton of money at the box office. But I like to see people that take risks like this awarded, because when else do you see a movie like this? And the last time it was done with Birdman, nowhere near on the scope as epic as this. That was crazy good. And that swept the Oscars too. But when it comes down to Sam Mendes, all it gets is cinematography? I don't know. If I was Sam Mendes, I'd be really upset. Aside from that, though, I really can't say I was too disappointed, because I wanted Joaquin Phoenix to win. I was super happy when he won, and when he was walking up to give his award, I couldn't wait to see what he was going to say, because he's just been really weird and awkward lately with all of his speeches. And he did not disappoint. He gave a really awkward speech about cows and milk. And look, I love actors. My favorite actor is Leonardo DiCaprio. But sometimes I wish they would kind of tone down the politics a little bit, and I get it. Like, you finally have this stand where millions of people are watching, and you have something that you really care about and you want to talk about. That's fine and dandy, but it's like, don't pile drive it into my head. Like, you just made a movie that won an Oscar. You were acknowledged of being the best actor that year out of all of the other actors that tried their hardest. I really wish he spent more time thanking Todd Phillips and maybe his family and friends and everyone that gave him the chance for the lifetime with this role. But whatever, he wanted to go off on his politics and nature and how we're abusing the world and how we all need to be kind to each other. Whatever. You know, Leo did the same thing. But as happy as I was for Joaquin Phoenix, I would have also been happy if Adam Driver took the win for Marriage Story, because that performance was one of the most raw performances I've ever seen in my entire life. He really killed it, and Adam Driver is quickly working his way up my list of one of the best actors ever. He single-handedly carried the entire new Star Wars franchise on his shoulders, because without him, the movies wouldn't have been nearly as good. Honestly, my favorite surprise of the night is Jojo Rabbit winning Best Adapted Screenplay. And seeing Taika Waititi go up to get that award, he was so scared. I could see him shaking. But I was so happy that that movie got recognized for as good as it was. I really was blown away by how good it was. I was not expecting it to be like that, because the book is way darker and is not as fun as that movie made it out to be. But I was really happy that it was acknowledged for what it was. I loved that movie. I just pre-ordered it on Amazon because I want to watch it a couple more times and really kind of dive in and see what made him change a lot of the stuff from the book. Overall, this Oscars was way better than last year's. Like I said, I got a lot of my predictions right, but I really can't believe Parasite beat Sam Mendes, although I can understand why it won all the other categories. Don't get me wrong, I did love Parasite. I just have a little bit of a quarrel with the way they handled the Best Director. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Did you like the Oscars? Did you love the choice of Parasite winning and pretty much sweeping the floor? Let's talk about it down below. And as always, I'll catch you next time.